the Chase Thomas podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
And I'm going to be curious to see, because I think that's going to change the potential of the offense a good deal.
Ryan, speaking of Jacoby Gillespie here, why and why not will Gillespie be a bigger portal addition for Tennessee than Chaz Lanier this past year?
Yeah, this was a good question. I mean, I think the only reason why not would just be like Tennessee's not nearly as good, so it doesn't feel as important. You know, Tennessee is a 6 or 7 seed, and they get bounced in the round of 32 or the first round. So you're like, okay, you know, maybe could have still made the tournament if we'd gotten somebody else instead of Gillespie, and you didn't really make a deep run, so who cares? Where if Chaz Lanier wasn't on this past year's team, they're definitely not making it to the Elite Eight. They're probably not making it to the second weekend, if we're being honest about it. So I think that would be the reason for why not. But the reason for why is just a lot bigger, because I think he's so necessary. He's so needed. And I think Chaz, and look, Chaz, he won the Jerry West Award, so certainly he silenced any questions. But, you know, he's going for North Florida, so there was an element of what does this look like? I mean, I think, Lanier, from a statistical standpoint, I think exceeded what Tennessee's expectations were for him when they got him. Jacoby is a much more known commodity. He's a guy that averaged 15 points in the Big Ten. He was third team All Big Ten. I think the best point guard, or one of the best point guards in the country, was in the Big Ten. So, you know, you talk about a guy that's ahead of him. He's a guy that I don't think would be surprising at all. I don't even think he has to make a huge jump forward to potentially be a first-team All-SEC guy. And then you're also talking about a guy that's playing in his second year at this level. And how many – just think about it. I mean, Jordan Gainey's the answer for Tennessee, and this is going to be a little bit different because he's in a new system, and it's not going to be as seamless. But I love when you get a transfer for 2 years, especially when they're coming from a lower level, because it seems like in that second year, those guys make a really big jump. Janai Broome was a big example of that. Jordan Gainey was a big example of that. So when you talk about that and how good Gillespie already was in year one making that jump, and again, it's not going to be as seamless. He's learning a new offense. He's learning new teammates, so he might have one beside him that he's pretty familiar with, and that would probably help. But you think about, man, if there's another level here, you're talking about a guy that can contend to be an All-American on a roster that badly needs a lead guard. So I lend thinking it's a bigger pickup just for what this team needs. But at the same time, Chaz Lanier, as I said, won the Jerry West Award, and it was a big part of Tennessee getting to the Elite Eight. So it's a very, very high mark that Gillespie will be chasing.
Yeah, I'm curious how this all goes ultimately, because you alluded to, I mean, are we looking at 3 transfer starters at both 2 guards and then small forward spot? Are we going to assume it's 3 transfers there?
I think it's going to be 3 or 4 newcomer starters at least.
Okay. Because like that's the other like just kind of like thing that's kind of buried here, Ethan, is that like Gillespie talked about going to get Rodney am I saying that?
Rodney Rice.
Rodney Rice. I second guess myself for a second. And Nate Ament, who we just kind of like moved on. Like, I don't know if that's going to get real. Who knows? But he's back. It's like, Ryan, like, yeah, he's back. Like, we just all moved on. It's just, I mean, you bring Ament back, and it's you bring Ament back into the equation. It's like, oh, it's like from Arrested Development. Oh, we got a stew going.
We got a stew going.
You bring in Ament, Gillespie, and Rice.
Bone.
Yeah, like if you have that combination, that's a great combination, man. Look, we're getting ahead of ourselves if that actually does end up happening. Yes, Ryan.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna. I was gonna let you finish your point, but I think I was just gonna add on to that. I think ideal roster building for Tennessee right now is you get one of Nate Ament and Elijah Freeman, and you have those guys that are more 3 guys with their skill set, but have the size that can play some 4, and then you have a lot of versatility. Then you do have a stretch 4 option, and you can play a little bit of small ball. You do that, obviously Ament would be a whole nother level when you look at his talent, and Freeman, much more of an unknown, but Tennessee gets one of those guys to go with either Rice or another good player in the backcourt, and I think all of a sudden you got a really exciting roster on your hands.
Yeah, I'm very, very curious about how this goes. Ethan, your
nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.